There is a version of you that nobody has met yet. Not your family, not your closest friends, not even you, not completely. And that version is not waiting for your permission or your readiness or your better circumstances. It is simply waiting for you to stop pretending and start becoming. Most people feel this at some point, a quiet recognition, a fire in the chest that burns briefly before getting buried beneath deadlines, screens, and the exhausting daily performance of being acceptable. You have buried it too. Not once, repeatedly, year after year. And in the silence late at night, when the noise finally stops and there is nowhere left to run, you can still feel it. That ache, that pressure, the distinct sense that your life is unfolding slightly beside where it was always meant to be. Does that feel familiar? That is not weakness. That is intelligence calling you forward. Almost nobody tells you what that signal actually requires of you. And this is where most people quietly destroy themselves. They try to answer it with motivation, with effort, with productivity systems, when none of those things come even close to the real answer. There is something deeper, something the Stoics understood centuries ago that the modern world has nearly forgotten entirely. What you are about to encounter will not simply inspire you. It will alter the lens through which you see yourself, your choices, and every day you still have. Stay with this, because almost nobody realizes what actually happens when you apply it. Here is the invisible problem that nobody names precisely enough. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You do not lack discipline or willpower or raw potential. You are living inside a system that was designed, deliberately or by accident, to keep you in a permanent state of reaction. Every notification pulling your gaze outward. Every comparison engineered to make you feel behind. Every digital feed constructed to harvest your attention before you can turn it inward to where your actual power lives. And the moment you lose that inward connection, you lose access to the deepest layer of everything you actually are. Think about your average morning. Before your mind has formed its first clear, undisturbed thought of the day, you have already handed your attention to something else. Someone else's emergency. Someone else's opinion. Someone else's carefully constructed highlight reel. And it happens so naturally, so seamlessly, that it does not even register as a surrender. It simply feels like being connected. Like being alive and informed and part of the world. But here is the question that reveals everything. When was the last time you spent one full, uninterrupted hour inside your own mind without trying to escape from it? Most people cannot honestly answer that. They can describe in vivid detail the lives of strangers they follow across platforms, but they cannot clearly articulate what they themselves deeply want. That gap between knowing everything about the world outside and knowing almost nothing about the world within is precisely where your power bleeds out, silently and invisibly every single day. And the loop continues, quietly, year after year. A subtle imprisonment with no visible bars and no obvious warden. But what makes this particular trap so dangerous is not the trap itself. It is that you are actively choosing to remain in it every single day, without ever fully realizing you are making that choice at all. The Stoics called it Prohairesis. Marcus Aurelius built an entire empire, and more importantly, an entire inner life, upon this single foundational principle. Epictetus, a man who was once literally enslaved and owned by another human being, understood it more profoundly than the most powerful and decorated men of his entire era. It is the discipline of clearly separating what is within your control from what is not, and then releasing everything on the wrong side of that line with complete and deliberate intention. Simple to hear, violent to practice. Because to truly apply this principle, you must be willing to release your grip on nearly everything the modern world has trained you to chase. The validation of others, the ongoing approval of your environment, the external proof, the recognition, the status, the confirmation that you are finally enough. You have to release all of it. Not because those things carry no weight, but because your obsession with controlling them is the exact mechanism locking you out of the power you already carry inside you. Most people miss this completely. They hear focus on what you can control and reduce it to a breathing technique, a stress management reminder on their phone. But that is not what the Stoics intended at all. They meant surgery. They meant cutting away every identity that fear handed you, every performance you have been maintaining to avoid rejection, every version of yourself you wear so that others feel comfortable. Read that again slowly, because what remains after that surgery, what actually exists when you strip away every borrowed belief and every performance, that is you, the real version, the one nobody has encountered yet. And this is critical. The question is not whether you are ready to become that version. The question is whether you are finally willing to meet it. Now we move deeper, because there is a second principle that even those who genuinely understand the first one rarely reach. And this is precisely the point where real transformation either quietly begins or permanently dies. The Stoics spoke of Amor Fati, love of fate, not passive acceptance of your circumstances, not tolerance, not resigned endurance through gritted teeth. Love, a radical, almost aggressive embrace of your entire history, the failures, the rejections, the years that felt entirely wasted, the moments where you chose smallness when something deep inside you already knew it was built for something far larger. Every single one of those moments was not punishment. It was construction. Every one of them was building the exact version that exists right now. And if you are not yet building consciously, ask yourself this honestly: what are you still waiting for? Because here is the part that most people fight themselves to believe. The version of you that carries the most shame, the one that shrank, that failed, that stayed silent when it should have spoken, that version was not a mistake in your story. Without it, the stronger version has no real foundation to stand on. But here is the uncomfortable truth. You are still carrying those moments as wounds instead of weapons. You are still allowing your past to drain your present rather than fuel it. And every single day that continues, you are choosing to be defined by what happened to you rather than by what you are actively becoming. The people who never internalize this principle spend their entire lives in a silent psychological war against their own history, and they lose, not because they lack strength or intelligence, but because they never understood that the war was never supposed to be fought at all. They were always supposed to be building. The third principle is the most dangerous one. Not dangerous in the way that threatens you from outside, dangerous in the way it quietly, completely dismantles everything you have built your self-image upon from deep within. The Stoics called it Memento Mori, remember that you will die. Not as a morbid philosophical exercise, not as pessimism wearing the clothing of depth, as a weapon of absolute, uncompromising clarity. Because the moment you truly sit with your own mortality, not as an abstract concept, not as something that happens in distant rooms to other people, but as a reality that is actively counting down right now, in the background of this very moment as you exist, something inside you shifts permanently. The noise of the world becomes smaller. The distractions reveal themselves for exactly what they truly are: theft. Your irreplaceable, non-renewable time being quietly taken from you by things that will mean absolutely nothing when this is over. And suddenly the silence feels different, heavier, sacred, in a way that makes everything more serious. That is the moment everything changes. The question is no longer about productivity or systems or getting more done before you burn out. The question becomes, who am I choosing to be before the clock stops? And a second question, harder than the first, Am I honest with myself about the answer? Because the old version of you, the one performing for approval, reacting to noise, scrolling past its own life, waiting for the right moment to finally begin, that version is already dying. Not someday, daily, and the new version does not arrive through motivation or a better morning routine. It rises slowly, painfully, through the willingness to sit alone with yourself long, enough to finally hear what you have been running from for years. Do you even know what that sound is? So now you carry 3 principles that have outlasted every empire, every movement, every wave of civilization that rose and collapsed in the centuries between their original writing and the exact moment you are alive in right now. The discipline of releasing everything that was never yours to control. The radical love of your entire history, especially and precisely the parts that broke you open. And the clarifying, unavoidable weight of your own mortality pressing against every single decision you still have left to make. These are not ideas to intellectually agree with and then quietly leave behind when you close this tab. They are operations, surgeries on the part of you that has been surviving instead of living, that has been waiting for a better moment, a better version of the world, a better version of yourself to finally appear before it truly begins. But the right moment was never arriving. And somewhere inside you, you have always known that. That knowledge has been living in your chest for a long time, quiet, unacted upon, like a fire that never found permission to burn. The question that has been building beneath every single line of this video is not how do you change. It is this: how much longer are you willing to wait before you do? Because somewhere right now, in this exact moment, a version of you that chose discipline over distraction is building something real, something quiet, something that will outlast all of the noise. And the version that chose to wait is already falling further behind with every hour that passes. The distance between those 2 versions is not talent. It is not your circumstances. It is not time. It is one decision, made with full awareness, made with the complete, unavoidable weight of your own mortality standing behind every word of it. That is the secret method of transformation. It was never a strategy or a system or a 5-step framework. It was always a reckoning. If something in this video moved something real inside you, write in the comments, "I am meeting myself for the first time." Make it a pact with yourself. Not for engagement, not for the algorithm, for the version of yourself that has been waiting far too long to be acknowledged. And if you want to keep walking this road, if you want to keep being disturbed in exactly the right direction, this channel was built precisely for that. Not to motivate you, to transform you, because the dragon was always inside you. It was just waiting for you to finally stop running